Hey, and welcome to another episode of Mac Irish. Today we're going to be looking at the HDTV buying guide, okay? It's coming up to Christmas. It's that time of year when you have crazy sales on, and a lot of people want to get a HDTV or maybe just upgrade their HDTV. So let's get into that. I'm going to assume you know nothing about HDTVs, or you want to just upgrade and you want to kind of make sense of the new features that are out there. Okay, so let's get started. First up, have a look at this, okay? This is our starting point. If you don't own a HDTV, the fuss about HDTVs is the extra detail and clarity in the picture and the vibrancy and the range of colors that you get, okay? So the traditional TV that you have is something like this, which is 640 by 480. That's just an expression of the width and the height of the pixels, okay? So 640 wide by 480 high. Basically, if you have a normal TV, this red box represents that, okay? And by that I mean the big fat TVs, the wide ones. They were normally this kind of aspect ratio, which was 4:3 aspect ratio. But when we got into HDTV, the standard became then 16 by 9 aspect ratio, which is the widescreen aspect ratio, okay? So, when you get a HDTV, it'll either be 720p, which is HD, or 1080p, which is full HD, okay? So, this actually refers to the second part of the pixel count, okay? So, it's called 1080p because of the 1080 here, and 720 because of the 720 here, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes on YouTube, when you're looking at a video, it might say 380p or 480p and give you the option to go up. So the higher you go, the better the quality will be, okay? So let's say you're watching a YouTube video, but you've only bought yourself a HD ready TV, then you should only go up to 720p because that's the maximum resolution, okay? So there's a big jump here between a 480 to a 720p resolution. You can see this is the area you'd be gaining in the detail and the clarity level, okay? And again, there's another step up to 1080p. Whenever HD TVs first started coming out, maybe 2004, 2005, around then, most people would have had a HD ready TV. And, a lot of the times the marketing will still show HD ready. But now most HD TVs are full HDs, okay? Now, you could have a full HD and a HD ready TV, the same screen size, okay? So 32 inch or a 32 inch. The only difference is going to be the number of pixels, going across width-wise and height-wise, okay? So, in this TV and this TV, they may have the same screen size, but this TV is packing more pixels for screen size. So, it's going to give you the extra clarity and detail, okay? Now, if you're feeling particularly adventurous, you could go and buy a 4K TV. And what that is, 4K is actually 4 of these, okay? So this is actually a quarter. So if you imagine a 50-inch TV, which is 1080p, and a 50-inch with 4K, the 4K one has 4 times the number of 1080p screens inside it, okay? So 1080p works out at around 2 million pixels. A 4K TV is actually working out at about 8 million pixels, okay? So it's an incredible amount of detail. But the problem is having the content, okay? So content is very important in making a buying choice, and also price. So the higher in resolution you go, the more expensive your TV, okay? Let's have a look at the back of a HD TV. Actually, this is the back, probably, of an AV receiver. It could be, but most HD TVs will have a lot of these connections, okay? In the middle here, we have the most common feature of a HDTV, which is the HDMI interface, okay? That stands for High Definition Media Interface. And the more of these, the better, because it means the more HD devices you can connect, okay? That basically will take the higher bandwidth and the higher picture quality and put it through. There are many different versions of HDMI, and you don't need to worry about any of those, because if you want to output 4K or even 1080p, then as long as you have HDMI, you're fine, okay? That's the basics of it. We can go into more specifics, but we don't need to at this stage, okay? Stereo fans will be familiar with this. This is just left and right stereo, okay? So if you want to output the sound somewhere else, then you can do that with these. This is the same again, okay? Now, this is a little bit different. You can connect digitally via HDMI or component. So typically component will have a red, blue and green wires that will plug in here, and that's just for video only. So these are 3 wires dedicated to video. Notice when you have the normal analog connection, there's only one video signal, okay, which is the yellow one, which we're all familiar with here. And also then the left and right for the stereo sound. But for HD TV, you're going to have actually 3 of these. Most commonly you're going to have the HDMI, but for games like maybe the Xbox or PlayStation fans, or even if you have like a media capture card, they may throw in a component cable, and so that's what you would use there, okay? A lot of the times these limit you to an output of not 1080p but 720p, okay? So just be aware of that. The great thing about most of the HDTVs is they can also be used as a monitor, and that's fantastic. So you've seen this before on the back of your PC monitors. Just plug it in there and you're good to go. Sometimes you can also have a different looking connection. So this is the DVI connection here, and this is what it looks like. It looks kind of like a row of squares, okay? And you might see this on the back of your monitor, and if this is available in your TV, great, then you can go ahead and plug in via your computer into the back of the TV, if it supports that. It's not so common nowadays, okay? One thing to know about this PC connection is it's purely video in most cases. Very rarely will it output sound. It's a video signal. That's not a problem if you've got a monitor, because most of the time you just be using it to as a second display. If you have a graphics card on your PC that has a HDMI slot, better to go with that, okay? Here's an audio. That's just your normal headphone socket. Sometimes in the back of these TVs, look, there's SD video in as well, so that's pretty old school. You'll also get optical out, which is good if you want to go for your home theater option. So you're going to be familiar with that. It's this kind of cable here, right? This one with the red laser light that comes out, and it connects typically into this optical 1 and 2 type of thing. This is basically what you'll have right now if you've got a normal CRT TV, okay? So there are different technologies here. When you see CRT, which you won't because it's not the 90s anymore, the CRT refers to this big, ugly type of TV that we used to have, familiarized by its huge width, heaviness. Its resolution is now called standard resolution. That's SD resolution. The aspect ratio is also 4:3, and also generally it's not flat, so you can see that the screen is curved, and you can see that quite well here. So that's something called geometry. So the nice thing about flat screen TVs is they give less distortion to the picture overall, and the manufacturing process has meant that we get nice flat panels. They're pretty thin as well. This silver area around it is called the bezel, and this is pretty thick. That's what you associate with flat screen TVs. But don't knock them. There's a lot of things they still do very well. Like their frame rate is very high, and they don't have much lag, and their black levels are very good. But we'll move on. When you talk about HD TVs, there's generally two types of competing technologies: plasma and LCDs, okay, or LEDs. Now, LED and LCD is pretty much the same thing, okay. An LCD is a technology which generally gives you a much brighter image, okay. And plasmas, well, flick off your lights. If you love your cinema and you're going to be watching a lot of movies in the dark, you probably want to go for plasma. Plasma's advantages are in terms of picture quality. A lot of enthusiasts say that plasma gives you the better picture. That's true, but now we're looking at very small levels of picture quality in terms of, oh, well, this gives you 0.5 in terms of black levels, whereas an LED will give you 0.8, and the lower the better, because it's measured in light output. So the closer to zero is like perfect black. So this has been the holy grail for AV enthusiasts, okay? You don't need to get so bogged down about it. Just look at your room. Will you be putting your TV into a bright room? Do you have a lot of sunlight coming in that room? If you do, go for LED. If you're a movie buff and you'll be a recluse drawing your curtains, go for plasma, okay? It's as simple as that, really, okay? Plasmas are generally cheaper because they're cheaper to manufacture in the larger sizes. So plasmas typically will enter at around the 42-inch above, okay? And you can pick up some real bargains. And by the way, a lot of plasmas are super slim and thin, and we have Panasonic to thank for that a lot, because they've been kind of leading the way in terms of great plasmas. But unfortunately, even they are leaving the plasma market, okay? Don't worry about that. You're not buying dead tech. You're buying phenomenal tech. And currently, at the prices we're getting, it's a steal right now. So, if you love your movies, you'll be watching a lot at night, then go for plasma. If you're a family person, you've got a lot of kids, you're going to be watching it more during the day, go for an LED. They've taken over the market because they look brighter in the shop for a start, because of their light output, so that grabs people's attention. They normally give you much thinner, width of TVs and much thinner bezels and frames around it, so they look more attractive as well. And they generally don't produce the same amount of watts, and they're less taxing on your electricity bill. And some governments are pushing them over plasmas because they're viewed as greener. LEDs are probably the way to go. I think they're selling 5 times as many LEDs as they do for one plasma. You don't need to get too involved in the plasma LED debate if you just bring it down to the basic level on light in your room. If you have a lot of light in your room, LED. If you don't, go for plasma, okay? So let's have a look at this website here. This is Curry's. I'm in the UK market. It doesn't matter what market you're in or what currency. What we're looking at here is technical specifications, okay? For example, if I look and scroll down this page, I've basically gone into just screen sizes, 32-inch. By the way, if you want a bedroom PC, or for yourself, for kids, 32-inch is a pretty good spot to be at. And it's a very popular screen size manufacturer, okay? So I would go for a 32-inch. If you're looking for a monitor, that's a little bit too big. You'll probably want to go into the 22-inch or above category for a monitor, okay? LG TV here, LED, okay? And it's £239. But if we look further up the page, oh, here's a Samsung. That's also 32-inch. But wait a minute, that's £469. Why is the LG down there almost half the cost as the Samsung? What's going on there? So what am I actually paying for? How is that justified? Let's have a look into that, okay? So in the LG, the first thing to notice about this is the resolution, okay? So notice here it doesn't say 720, okay? It's a little bit higher than 720 here, but we are not talking about a full HD TV, because a full HD TV has to have 1920 by 1080p, okay? So we're not in this category of TV, okay? We are looking at a 720p TV, okay? So it's slightly above the 1280 by 720, the LG that we're looking at. You can see that it's slightly above. We're still not talking about a full HD TV here. You can't call it full HD. So this is normally called HD ready TV, okay? You will not see here full HD. They can't call it that because it's not offering you the full HD experience, okay? Now, for a lot of the times, that's not really important even, the full HD experience, okay? Those extra pixels, because if you're just using this to watch normal TV, Sky broadcasts in HD, most of that is actually shot in 720p because it takes up a lot of bandwidth to shoot in 1080p, and I don't know anyone who's doing that commercially right now, okay? So it's in 720p most of the time, or 1080i, which is 1080 interlaced, but we don't want to go too much into specifics here. HD ready TVs, which is in the blue rectangle, are capable of outputting 1080i, okay? And a lot of, sports channels are transmitted in 1080i at 60 frames a second, or 720p at 60 frames a second. And the higher the frame count, the more smoother the image. So you can expect that. So if you want to watch sport and you want it in a high frame rate, then a HD ready TV will do that just fine. The advantages of having a full HD TV is that, okay, the image might still be only 720, but look here, you're going to get that stretched out to fill up your screen, and your TV will process and provide scaling so that it looks like you're getting extra information there, so it'll look upscaled. That's why generally when you put in a DVD which has been made for a standard definition TV, it will look better on a HD set because the HD set inside it scales it up and guesses where the extra information should be, okay? But if you just want to watch TV and that's all you'll be doing, then go for a HD ready TV. That's fine. We were talking there about 60 frames a second. If you watch film, that's 24 frames a second. Or sometimes it's known as 24 hertz. So when you see a motion rate, when you see motion, you'll see hertz beside TVs. 100 hertz means you're getting 100 frames per second from this TV. So you'll easily manage the 60 hertz. So if you're looking for a TV, look out for something that gives you above 60 hertz, okay? Most TVs now will do that. They'll give you above 60 hertz, okay? So this gives you 100 hertz. Now that's not bad, but in the higher end TVs, you get higher levels of hertz, okay? Maybe 400 hertz or 800 hertz or 1000 hertz. Plasmas kind of can give you in these higher figures. Now, it's not necessarily to go much higher, but what that does is it means that the image will look smoother, okay? So let's have a look at this Samsung in comparison then, okay? One thing making this more expensive is it's a full HD system. It's also 3D, and it's also got double the motion rate, okay? So it doesn't have 100 hertz, it offers 200 hertz, okay? It's 3D as well. You'll notice that if you're going higher and higher in price on a TV, you'll get 3D in it, whether you want it or not, okay? And note this also, this one doesn't include the glasses, so that's something, some of them throw them in, some of them don't. The 3D glasses are going to be either active or passive, so look out for that. This one takes active, so it says here active, so we know that when we're buying something, then we know what we're looking out for there. 3D passive or 3D active. Okay, so this one is more expensive because it has a higher resolution. It offers 3D. It offers better processing. This LG one is not bad. If you don't want 3D, not a big deal to you, yeah, go for it. This is great. It also outputs in stereo. The other one outputs in higher than stereo. It offers other sound enhancements as well. It offers Wi-Fi, so built-in Wi-Fi. It offers 4 HDMI connections. We were talking about those. 1 SCART, 1 component, which is the RGB, 1 composite, which is just the yellow one, and 2 USB. Okay, USBs are quite important now because one is that you can put family photos, stick in a USB, and put that into your TV, and you'll be able to view your pictures. You can also put in some movies, and if your TV supports those movie formats, then those pictures will work as well. You can also use it to upgrade your firmware as well. And some TVs have dedicated USB ports for the recording of TV shows. So if it has a inbuilt tuner, which this one does, it has a TV tuner, HD. If one of those is going to act like a hard drive slot, you can always have a USB stick in there recording away. So that's pretty cool, and you can play that back through the same hard drive again. So this TV is more expensive because it gives you all those options, whereas the LG one, it's got half the number of HDMIs, it's only got 1 SCART, and it's only got 1 USB port. It also offers you a 3D, HD tuner, which is nice. It's by no means a bad TV, but you can see now where the price kind of comes in. It's just a general guide. Let's have a look here at Amazon, the best-selling TVs, and now that we have an idea of price, let's try and figure out why some of these are selling so well, okay? So the number one top seller on Amazon is this Toshiba, okay? Look at that price, that's great, £234 for a 32-inch LED. Now most of these will be LEDs, okay? You'll see very few plasmas now because most people are buying LEDs, so if they're outselling plasmas by 5 to 1 or so, most of this list is going to be LED. So let's have a look at this, okay? This is the number one selling on Amazon right now for the UK market. What does it have? Okay, so we saw an LG there for $289, so wow, this is less than that. But what are we getting here? Okay, so it's a 32-inch. Firstly, it's not a full HD TV, okay, so we've got that out of the way. So, yeah, you got USB connections, you've got a programmable guide, you've got 2 HDMI inputs and a PC input. You can wall mount it, okay. Oh, nice, okay, so with Dolby Digital Plus, it can support 5.1 and some of the higher rates. Let's have a look at the back. Okay, 2 HDMI, nice. Aerial, okay. SCART, old school, okay. PC, and the digital connection there as well. If you're looking for a good quality imaging, go for the big companies that we all know here. Here they are, most of them. So Samsung, Toshiba, Panasonic, LG, Sony, these guys are going to give you excellent image quality. Most of the time, you'll still be watching a lot of standard definition stuff. So what's important is how well your TV scales, okay? Like, look at this monitor here. I've got a monitor which is actually higher than 1080p. This picture certainly is not 1080p, but if I zoom into the picture, well, that's the maximum I can zoom in. You can see when I stop zooming, it adjusts for a second and scales it. And it does a pretty good job of scaling it, okay? So that's really important because when you're watching an SD TV, a standard definition broadcast, then you're actually watching something which is this red being scaled up to this level here in the green, okay? So actually a lot of standard definition stuff is not this box shape. It's more like a wider box. It's the correct aspect ratio of 16:9, but it still needs to be scaled up. Now this box ratio here, when you're watching a movie which is old school 4:3 aspect ratio. You know, the box can only go so big, right, to fill the screen. So if this fills my screen, hey, hold on, we've still got bits on the side. So you'll notice the blue bits here will become black on your TV, okay? Don't worry about that, that's just the aspect ratio it was shot in. Or sometimes if you're watching a movie and the movie's wider than 16:9 aspect ratio, you're gonna get like black on the bottom and top black bars, okay? That just means it's slightly wider so it doesn't fit, okay? And that's normal too, that's just the choice of the director. I mean, movies are not shot in 16:9 aspect ratio. TV programs for broadcast are, okay? So that's where we're at. You're kind of now an expert on buying TVs. So for our final challenge, let's have a look at this website, HDTVtest.co.uk. This is an excellent site which goes into extreme technical detail about the TV you may be interested in, okay? Calibrations, you don't need to worry about that. Okay, you don't need to worry about this. Let's just go down to the nitty-gritty of it, okay? No dead pixels, that means you're not going to see any stuck pixels. Pixels that don't move whenever the rest of the image does. You know, you don't really get that so much. Screen uniformity is how, you know, flat it is and how well the light output is, so this is a good TV for that. The motion resolution, if you turn on their motion trickery, you know, the hertz, increasing the hertz, that will give you 1080 lines of resolution. If you have it off, then it's only going to look like you have 300 lines of resolution, okay? So that's why a lot of these have the frame interpolation on to kind of give it a more smoothing effect. Some people don't like that effect and call it the soap opera effect because it kind of makes films look more like TV, so you can turn it on or turn it off. This is also important for gamers, lag. So a lot of these newer TVs, because they have so much processing going on here, they're not actually outputting the picture at the same time as they're getting it in from the signal. There is some delay. That may be an issue if you're a gamer. So if you see lag of 8 milliseconds to 20, that's actually very decent. This is only going to be an issue for trigger-happy gamers who love Call of Duty and all that kind of stuff. For the normal person who doesn't have cat-like superhuman reflexes, this will not matter, okay? But if you are a gamer, look out for the milliseconds. The lower, the better, okay? If you see this test, the Leo Bodnar, it's a bit harsher and it actually has higher millisecond ratings than normal input lag tests, okay? And this is the output of energy, if you care about that, okay? So that's pretty much it. You are now an expert on buying a HD TV. Congratulations, go out and buy one. If you have any questions, then post them in the comments below. And thanks for watching Mac Irish. Take care.